This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Morning.
Carrie Ann, good to see you today, and we have the one and only the Mr. Jason Hoover in the house. Thank you, Jason, for joining us.
He's
Absolutely.
back. He's back.
Thank you.
Yes. Ton of wisdom in this guy. You know, you heard him on the huddle call yesterday. It's really, I think it's a great opportunity to bring in these little snippets of details that we forget about sometimes because we don't deal with them all the time. But if we can keep them a little, fresh, it just takes a few minutes just to be refreshed on some of these topics that sometimes can catch you, off guard, and you miss that importance of it. So
we have that in lending too. We just talked about well testing.
Yeah,
you just forget all the process, of what you need. So being refreshed is key with all the things. And so right now we've got a great discussion today.
Yeah. So Jason, I got a big question for you.
What's that?
Okay, a little drum roll here.
Oh no! Oh no!
Okay, are we in a housing bubble?
Short answer?
Because I'm serious. There's a lot of people saying that we're in a housing bubble. This is nothing at all like 2008 for those of us who have lived through the chaos back then. But it's got some similarities and so forth. So it's got people scratching their head. And I think within the real estate community, certainly, I think it's a topic that we should ask the professional.
Well, it's just
all on you.
It's just an opinion.
It's all on you. It's all on you.
No, this is the fact. If you speak it, it's got to be the fact.
Well, in my opinion, no, we're not in a housing bubble. We're in a different situation than our economy has ever been in. We had this pandemic thing that happened, right? So that completely took things in a whirlwind. All projections went out the window, right, when that happened. And it caused people to do different things, work from home, and moving in. Generational families are becoming a bigger thing now. So many different things that are going on that, as far as the inventory is not even, imitating a bubble.
It's nowhere near.
No, it's not even close. So, we had talked before about, other people, they're saying, the rates are going up, the houses are not selling. It's just a shift, and that does happen. So we're in a housing, we are in a housing shift, not in a housing bubble. At least that's the way I see it.
Carrie Ann, were you in the mortgage business? And I'm sorry, I don't do the math here.
How many years have I been in?
No, but back
you know anything about loans?
No, but 2008 when the things hit the fan, were you in the business then?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, many years before.
So you know from your perspective that today's world is nothing like the ninja loans and all that stuff going on.
Well, yeah, I was the first company. I was given a 90-day severance. So we were the first company to go under. So that was the first experience of when 2008 occurred. I just was starting anew. So my take on 2008 granted me a reignite of my business because I was the first open. Then when everybody else was closing, my doors were already open with a new firm. So yes, 2008 has a totally different feel and look.
You've come a long ways, baby, in that much time, haven't you?
Yeah, well, because if you think about it, we went through a lot of hearts and pain, sad stories left and right. People weren't prepared. COVID allowed so many people to save so much money because they didn't go on the vacations. They didn't do all the things. So when all of a sudden we were able to get out and about, we had all this cash, not so much me, but other people. And that's where the cash started. Because didn't you overnight, there was cash.
Right.
Or what it felt like was cash. And yes, people moved in from different states and different things. And yes, they were so excited. And then all of a sudden, similar to the conversation we had before, people just stopped all the things we used to do got thrown out the window, as in don't we care if the home is built of quality? Don't we care, that this is done or that? And all of a sudden we're taking lipstick on a pig and all the things and just, hey, I just need a roof over my head. And so things got a little sideways. They had to shift, right?
Yeah.
We have to get back on track. So some people say, it's a down market. Some people say, the bubble. Some people are saying normal market. I mean, it's trying to mimic us back in the day.
In my 39 years, actually, in 3 more days, it'll be 39 years. Thank you very much. That I've been involved in this business. This just is a normal market. I mean, that's really what we're having to do is go back to a normal market. But I wanted to comment on the fact that I really do believe that the COVID monster did force forward. The future changes would have made anyhow. We would eventually got to a point, I think, where a lot of more people were working from home because we had the technology to do it. All COVID did was force forward that evolutionary process, I think, at a time where we were already maybe on the hinge of having enough inventory or not, at a time where interest rates were at an all-time low. I mean, never in my career would I've ever dreamed. I mean, I remember back when, we've talked about, when I got into business, it was like 16%. And I remember it gradually coming down. And I remember showing property at 9%. And then the next day it'd be 9.5%. And they didn't like what they'd found at 9%. So they sure wasn't going to like what they'd liked, saw at 9.5%. But anyways, I never would have dreamed. I could have, somebody could have said, I'll bet you, $1 million or whatever, it'll be yours if we hit less than 5%. I would have been, no way. There's no way in the world, because that was the mindset and that was the expectation. Now, values weren't where they're at today, certainly, but there was no, and you just found a way around it. You just worked around those things, Well,
and we also didn't have the tools that we have today, like a lock and shop or things like that, where you can secure them in an interest rate that they're comfortable with. Maybe they don't want that, but I mean, we also lived through the days where interest rates were 2.25%, 3.25%. I mean, it wasn't like anybody picked up the phone anymore than they're doing now. And I will tell you, the excitement over this last weekend with the holiday, there was a big push. There was a lot of applications. So the applications are there. It is now taking the time where maybe you're doing 1 showing, 2 showings, 3 showings, and really having them decide what's the right home for them, sellers.
It wasn't sold before it went live?
Right.
Yeah, they're having the time to do the things they were supposed to be able to do. And that's what we missed the last year and a half was you can't look at the house, go home and pray about it, bring the in-laws into it, mentally place some furniture, that kind of stuff, and then think about it, and then make an offer on it and negotiate something. You had to make an offer before you ever got there and over full price and all that. That was nothing natural about that. There was nothing sustainable about that.
And assume the pictures are equals quality, because like my neighbors, they lost out on, I don't know, 10, this was only 6 months ago, right? Or maybe now it's 8 months. I can't remember the timing of it all, but 10 houses, and they wanted to move their family from California here to raise their children. They're young, 5 and 6, I think, and lost out. So at this point, they just, rumor had it, there was a house coming on the market that said cash, sight unseen, over $2 million. And now they are in the neighborhood and they live there, and it's been one drama after another having to redo. And they assumed the house was of quality because of the gorgeous pictures, etc.
Right.
So this is the time now where buyers can actually double check themselves. I mean, I wonder how many conversations and stories that we're going to hear about, the after effect of people just buying houses just because.
And how many watching this can raise their hand saying, I will never sell another home sight unseen? I mean, if you can't raise your hand, you haven't done one yet, because normally that's the conviction after you've done it one time, is because it just opens the door for so many problems. The same thing as how many homes were sold without an inspection. And then when the problem happens, they forget all about, the fact that you gave them the opportunity to get inspection, but they were afraid of losing it, so they waived it. But anyway.
Well, I saw an article, and I don't remember who it was and the source, but they said it was 62% of buyers had buyer's remorse now.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I'm actually, I think that's a little low myself. But I mean, going back to the COVID, it wasn't just COVID. I think it was a perfect storm. It was
I agree.
The COVID happened. We were already in a seller's market, and we had been in a seller's market for a couple of years. And it's, I was watching it's human nature. I was watching a YouTube video a while back, and it was these people that were setting up this or staging these videos where a few of them through a crowded area would start running.
Okay.
And they would show that people would start looking and start jogging, and everybody would just take off running.
And follow suit.
And it's like over and over and over. Yeah. They wouldn't wait to see what's happening.
They just started running.
They just saw what other people were doing and that it was urgent, and they would jump on and do it.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah. It's that all of a sudden you have iBuyers that came into the picture and like, sell your house. We'll buy it top dollar. You can go and be free, do whatever you want. Okay, well, and that's why I think, I do believe that iBuyers have a hand in the housing market.
I agree with the CEO of Redfin on that. I agree.
Absolutely, 100%. So you had the COVID, and then you have the iBuyers coming into the market, and they were raising the prices on those because they wanted to make money as well. They were getting paid on the back end. So it looked like you're getting all the money. We're not going down the path of iBuyers, but I'm just saying, I think, between the COVID and the low interest rates, those three factors is what got us into that crazy market that we were in.
A perfect storm.
It is a perfect storm. And then also too, this would be by, the local areas. We had a lot of people moving in out of state. So there was a lot of cash that was brought in to Nashville.
And they were looking through lenses that didn't exist here either.
Correct.
They were looking at a blanket area, like one side of the town is equal to the other side of the town and all that kind of stuff, where before there were some, favorite areas of town, and now it all became price point. Everybody became equal. It just became a price point issue. Where can you buy something under $500,000? That's all that matters.
Well, and now you've got, COVID's pretty much, under control, and you have the interest rates that have been raised, and you have the iBuyers have pretty much all crumbled.
Scurrying away,
I mean, I think we got maybe one or two, and even them, they're hurting. So all these factors are slowing it down, but it's not a bubble. A bubble was whenever, you had undocumented loans. You're handing out money to everybody, and there was more things at play at that time as well. But I've said it from the very beginning. I don't think we're going to be crashing. I don't think we're going to be in a bubble. The interest rates will plateau and they'll bounce around at a certain point, and everybody will get used to it.
Yeah, I think, they rose the highest they've ever rose as quickly as they've risen, over so many years. And so it's a little bit of a shock to some. If you look at the reports out there and you speak to different economists and different folks that study all the reports, the first-time home buyer, that millennial generation, is just, so many people are eager to become homeowners. That is the folks that would be purchasing right now that possibly are slowing just because they want this fine item for this price, champagne on a beer budget type of concept. And they aren't as comfortable, with the payment. So we get a lot of traction, a lot of apps coming in, people wanting, but then when they see what the numbers are, not as comfortable, and we guide and use the tools where we talk about the buy down and the structure, but people really like to hold on to something of security. And what if, and that gamble, of the market will shift. Well, we know what goes up has to come down eventually, but what if it doesn't for me, type of thing. And so building up that confidence level within the consumer has been one of the most challenging, right now.
So, I was sharing that example of everybody running, and, that's kind of everybody started selling. Well, the same thing happened when everybody stopped. They're like, oh, wait a minute, something's going to happen. I'm taking my house off the market, or I'm not buying anything because I don't want to overpay. So it was the same effect, but in reverse. So
true.
I think 23. I mean, we'll get things hashed out. It's going to be an interesting year for sure, and we'll just see. It's kind of one of the things that we don't know, but we're in it, and we'll figure it out on the way.
Yeah, I mean, and the market should, from an interest rate standpoint, come down. They say, a percentage point of such, even 1 percentage point will ignite some excitement. You know, even the shift that we had so many weeks ago ignited some folks that were kind of sitting on the sidelines, you know, and saw that they could save, you know, a little extra money, you know, here or there. But for years, my average loan size was $225. You know, to think like you can find a house even under $300,000.
Yeah.
You know, our affordability has shifted a little bit. The loan sizes, the loan limits just shifted today, actually, with our high balance being just shy of $900,000 for Williamson County, but the average is $726,200 now, right? And so to think back in the day, it was in the fours, then it went to the fives, you know, $625 for years, you know, and now we're $100,000 above that. And so that's going to open up some more flexibility for folks that are looking at higher price points from a guideline standpoint, you know, which will assist them as well. So, but yeah, go back to, you know, people are making good money. Sadly, right now, with the shift of what we're experiencing with inflation, lots of layoffs have occurred. You know, people are losing their jobs. We're seeing that in many of the industries that came in, you know, with lots of fire and excitement, and made some crazy moves. And then all of a sudden now have had to, you know, cut half their workforce or even more.
Did you see that with Ribbon? What happened with Ribbon? 80% of their workforce?
Yeah. I mean, you saw that, we won't go into details, but to find out that I was the one who told somebody before they even knew. That was not, you know, and that was on an Inman report. That was on an Inman report.
So speaking of Inman, I know Jason is, I do want to give a quick shout out for, if you're watching this and you're not a member of Inman, we both, I think Jason will recommend this as well. You know, invest a few $100 and become an annual member of this organization. I don't agree with everything they promote and all that, but it will help you stay in the know of what changes and so forth, and other opinions. And on that topic, let's go through these. There is a real estate chief economist, Matthew Gardner, who made some
top 10 predictions.
Top 10 for 2023 that we should share about. And it starts with, there is no housing bubble. So we agree with what he's saying, Jason, that there isn't one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the past couple of years, home prices got ahead of themselves. I mean, I think that's true. And
it is.
And when you talk about, I mean, I saw house values, and I think you guys saw as well, they jumped $100,000 almost overnight.
Yeah.
I mean,
blink of an eye.
Because it was, again, price point dependent. And when you stopped being able to find a $400,000 home, all of a sudden they jumped to 500, and all of a sudden the 500s became thin, and so they jumped to 600, and it just kept on. I mean, just crazy.
It used to be that $5,000 was a lot of money, and then $10,000 was a lot of money, and all of a sudden it was like $25,000 over, and then it was $50,000, and then the norm became $100,000. I was like, where are y'all getting your money from?
Connie and I got $250 more than we are asking for our house. You know, I mean,
we had a client that got outbid. We went, I think it was $300,000 over. It's like, and we didn't win. It's like, how do you have that conversation?
See, that is part of my conviction about, you know, and when you're having that heart to heart with the seller, look, I'm sorry, the timing, but some of these numbers were never real. When they're talking about, well, what do you mean my home's only worth $700? My neighbor sold theirs for $800. You know, that was probably a $550,000 home at a weird time. So let's get into reality. Those were never real values at that point.
You're now calling it back saying, see, everything happens for a reason. That was not supposed to be your house. You were not supposed to spend $300,000 over.
So point number 2 here is mortgage rates will drop. And I think that, I was watching Barry Habib. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, yeah.
He's a sharp guy. He's saying that within...
We're friends on Facebook.
Well, I should just go to you with my questions then.
I'm just joking. So if go back to the 20 years in the business, he's been educating us lenders for a long time and doing a great job at it.
He's a sharp guy. But anyway, he claims that we're going to be back in the 5s within the first quarter of next year. Now, I don't know that it's going to happen that quickly, but it is going to come down, I do believe.
Well, and we had Dave Stevens on a call the other day as well, and he referenced the same thing, you know, and he made some great quotes. I'll have to give them to you because they were awesome, very powerful. But he reminded us that, you know, we're just on the doorstep of what could be one of the biggest buying booms with the interest rates shifting, because just something so small like that can really ignite the excitement again, you know, because for some reason, some people, you know, they're being educated, the media sharing, they're doing this, they're watching the TikTok, whatever, wherever they're getting their information from, are believing, like you said, they're following the leader of what, and they're saying, don't buy because rates are high, or this or that, and all the things. And it's not about the rate; it's about your affordability and your comfort level. Everything is all relative. When it comes to all that. So that's exciting to see and feel, to know that maybe tomorrow, in quotations, will be a brighter day when it all. But I'm seeing on social media, even some real estate agents right now stating that this is the wrong time to buy, and
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why do they want to say something like that?
I don't know.
I mean, let's just shoot our toes right off our feet. Why would you do that?
Well, and two, it's like, you can't speak, broadly like that. No, the right time to buy is when you need to move.
Right. Right.
So I don't agree with that statement. I've seen some of those, and I'm like, I just want to comment. I'm like, no, I'm the non-commenter.
Well, that's the person who should get out of the real estate business, really.
Well, and I think they referenced they've been in the 20-something years and different things like that. And so
I guess we could have the same friends.
So, but I paused and I read it. That's one person's opinion. And that's what you have to understand with social media. That is that individual's opinion.
Yep.
And he or she are going to make their individual choice, on that. But we're all in this industry.
Around the kitchen table tonight, things are still happening that have happened for eons. And that is, people are making a decision about their housing. That could be, I don't like you anymore, and I'm going to go, down the road. Or it could be, hey, guess what? Who's pregnant? It could be, hey, we're going to be in a better school system. I mean, things are happening around the kitchen table.
Life goes on.
Life goes on, regardless of interest rates, regardless of whatever else might be happening. Life continues, and guess what's part of that life is their housing need.
Someone also told me, if somebody's listing a home in the middle of the holidays, most likely they want to sell their home, need to sell their home, they're serious about selling their home, right? And so you'll find a lot of investors purchase in the month of December, January, February, right? For that particular reason. They're more apt to get a, better deal in quotations, or have a seller be a little more negotiable, things like that. And so to say not to do anything till spring or summer, I would think that the market, if the rates dip, there's going to be more excitement. Prices will start to level and start to move in a forward or an upward direction. I would assume.
Well, it's going to be a more even playing field for buyer and seller. And so and I look forward to that, because some of these buyers, they were heartbroken. I mean, a lot of them actually.
It was so much going on where you could stay in your little bubble, and you possibly, as real estate agents, you had to still get out and show properties and different things. But from a lender standpoint, they didn't move. They just stayed, lifted the phone, and that whole thing. Life has changed. So they're just so used to having so much opportunity for 2 years straight, and that has gone away. And nobody wants to change their actions per se. Like, they still want to do what they were doing for the last 2 years. I coach some originators, and I'm like, you get in your car and you drive to where there's tons of opportunity all around. You just got to go find it, and we're really blessed to be in Middle Tennessee, where there's different markets that may be so-called in a housing bubble of some sort. I don't think we're ever going to be there.
The real housing market is more of a micro market, sometimes based on neighborhoods, choice neighborhoods. I've been paying attention to some of the bread and butter neighborhoods through this whole adjustment, and some of them have not flinched a bit. There's still you still can't buy in there, not because there is an opportunity, because things are selling quickly, like Sullivan Farms, like Fieldstone Farms, some of those bread and butter neighborhoods. Point number 3 here says, don't expect inventory to grow significantly, and I think he hits a really, really good point right here, because so many people have that lower interest rate that you were able to help them get back, last year, that they don't want to give that up. So they're going to stay put, even though life is happening around them.
And those people too aren't as familiar with all the new options that are available out there, which don't really focus so much. I heard, on interest rate. I was hearing another social media video of a gentleman saying, his mortgage payment would double or triple, with the way the market is today. Well, there's other ways to talk through that. And I think the more that we educate, the consumer, and going back to what everybody's just always done what they've always done. So they're just going to do what they do. The shift the mind shift with all the other tools and lending opportunities that are out there is could open up the eyes of so many more to really kind of shift that eventually. But it's hard to
Jason,
get the whole world
what does
changed.
number 4 say on that list?
Yeah, it's no buyer's market, but a more balanced one. So it's what we were talking about earlier, is that, a buyer's market, he puts in here, is usually defined as having more than 6 months of available inventory. And the last time we reached that level was in 2012 when we were recovering from the previous housing bubble. you know?
Right.
So, I mean, that's proof again that I don't believe that there is a bubble.
He goes on to say to get to the 6 months of inventory would have to reach 2 million listings, which hasn't happened since 2015. In addition, monthly sales would have to drop below 325,000, a number we haven't seen in over a decade. Although the buyer's market of 2023 is unlikely, I do expect a return to a far more balanced one. And that's, again, where we keep circling back around to, hey, guys, this is a normal market.
Yeah.
You were born into a fantasy world, and this is what we've been dealing with in my world, the last 39 years.
Sellers will have to become more realistic. It says
Yes.
here at number 5.
And this is the hard conversation, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. And of course, I'd rather have an overpriced listing as a senior agent than, because I feel like my sign is worth more in front of somebody's house than in my garage. At the same time, I think we always owe it to our clients to be real with them and not try to buy a listing because we're sharing with them what they want to see or want to hear. We have to be real with them and say, okay, well, we'll try your route, but let's do this in X number of days if the outcome that you're looking for hasn't happened. I think we have to be at least ready to plant that seed because there is a big adjustment. I mean, there is, remember we share always that people make plans with imagined equity. It is all imagined until the buyer steps up and say, hey, I'll give you that money you're looking for.
Well, it's hard to think 7-8 months ago, life was so different to say we're in it's just hard,
It's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
At the end of the year that you could, essentially have lost the possibility of $400,000 or $500,000 value on your home around this area. We have a client right now that, he hit it just wrong, not just right, just wrong, and went to market just like 2 weeks too late.
Right.
And, now looking at we're staying in touch, we're sharing, as you should, as a professional agent should, stay in contact, feed them information, let them know what's going on. And, we're looking at it now that it could be $400,000 valued $400,000 less.
Oh yeah. Good friends of ours, 2 weeks too late too. Started at 1.8 and I think it's 1.1 now.
Yeah.
And still on the market. But I don't know if it was ever 1.8.
It wasn't.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's what
it wasn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't 1.8.
And so-
but they were getting the value at that time, so that's still, that was still their reality.
Because people saw the rush, the run you were
Exactly.
talking about. I saw the similar example where people were ringing a bell and the one person stood in a doctor's waiting room. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, stood up.
Yeah, stood up. And then the next person next to him would come in and they'd ring the bell and that person stand up. And so this person stood up and pretty soon the whole office was standing up because that first person conditioned them.
That was the Impractical Jokers or something.
It was.
But
it's a great
I
example.
loved it because it showed our human, we are so conditioned to follow. Even in school, they teach you.
Yeah.
Basically, you follow.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah. Workers return to work, sort of, is what he says in number 6. I think that I know there's cases, I've heard of cases where the employer is saying, hey, I need you back at the office. I know you've been working from home the last 18 months, but we need you back here. So that's going to have some impact on the real estate market. Number 7, new construction actively unlikely to increase. I do believe that's true. A lot of builders have paused things because they've been sitting on some inventory.
Well, I was hearing too, development costs are so high.
Well, that's absolutely a factor.
It doesn't even make sense knowing that they don't know what tomorrow will bring. But builders right now are doing all things to keep the engine moving, offering great incentives. They're coming back. You share,
they're highly leveraged right now. So, they need to unload some inventory.
When it comes to new construction, though, I mean, you guys know my feeling when some of these builders come in our office offering us the latest donuts after they were, made it known,
glazed.
Publicly
Monty,
known.
they're honey glazed.
They made it publicly known they were trying not to pay a realtor and when things were so hot because they thought they were a cat in a bird cage, and now they're coming in with donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean...
But the other thing that's so hard is the cost to build over the last couple of years, which many of us who've been through renovations have felt it. And so now they have to sell these houses at a certain price point because that's what it cost. And that neighborhood is just not that price point, anymore. And so it's just a difficult thing to be in. Plus, I think the builders have a lot of inventory already ready. So I think there's already projections prepared on that. So number 8, not all markets are created equal.
That is absolutely true. I'll never forget in 2008 when we were in the Great Depression, going over just to one neighborhood here locally called West Haven, and it was so hot that you couldn't even buy a lot back then. I mean, it was just, it's a micro market. And I think that honestly, that regardless of how what we might hear on the macro, I think the micro here is part of that micro is Nashville is going to remain. We don't need to get our advice from somebody looking at that national level that includes everybody's numbers. I think overall the Nashville market's going to remain strong in comparison, at least, to the rest of the world.
Yeah, we always have. I think even in the 08 days, it was different, clearly. But we're still standing here. We've all made it through. And as the real estate agents who are listening, it comes back to all the things that Jason and Monte have talked about for over the last year is planning, positioning, knowing tomorrow will be a different day. What got us here won't get us there. We're all the things,
Developing a mental toughness.
Plan the work and work the plan, all of it, Another girlfriend tells me all this. I love this quote, work works, you've got to really just keep going and assume that things aren't just going to be thrown in our laps anymore.
Number 9, Jason?
Affordability will continue to be a major issue.
That is a reality. But here's where it's going to, some sellers are going to have to get into that reality. And a lot of them are embracing the idea of paying closing costs and are being just a lot more cooperative. And I am surprised a little bit, I guess, that I've seen this adjustment happen as quick as it has, because typically the consumer is about 6 months behind reality. And then there's some resistance on there. But I'm looking at some of the prices there and it's like, that home's not worth 1.4 or 1.5 or whatever the number is. It never was worth that. So we have to, I think we owe it to our clients to give them the numbers, show them when they bought the house what the market was like. I love what Laura Pierce shared with us on a huddle call, how she broke it down as to what the market looked like 6 months ago when they bought, what the market looks like today, what the average sale price was when they bought, how many homes were on the market, how many days on the market, and what it is today. And how do you argue with that? If you have to move, you have to move, and you have to pay attention to the documentation like that.
When we talk about affordability too, just in the cost of things, or just so much more. We ordered some sandwiches online the other day, and I go, I'm sorry, what? It's how much? Type of thing. Or this or that. And so you think about people call and say, I want my payment. This is same conversation I have all the time. I want my payment no more than $32.50 or $26.25.
Right.
And if it is over $1 of that, I can't do it. And they're tight on their budget.
Right.
And so it's a situation where they're totally trying to puzzle piece all of this together. I'm happy to know that some people are focused on a budget. I think that's important. It makes it more challenging, because can we give everybody all the things that they want? This makes more difficult. But affordability for many different reasons, right? Pay cuts, what they used to be able to make. I know even from a real estate standpoint, many people right now have second jobs, and everybody's just trying to, stay afloat. So if you're feeling that, the consumer is still feeling that in their world, right? And so everybody is, we're going through this together, And so I think you referenced too, just kind of changing your budget or tightening up a little bit, kind of planning ahead. But if we're talking about doing that, then other people are doing the same. And so we have to take that into consideration when we're showing houses.
I want to encourage my peers out there. If you feel like things are not going to go well, please don't be shouting it out on social media.
Yeah.
You're going to create your reality. I mean, if you just want to get out of the business, please help yourself. Go ahead and get out of the business, but don't muck it up for the rest of us, okay? Because I do believe in today's world is so connected that we can literally create our reality by the words, by the momentum that we create, that we add to it, and so be careful how you go beyond your circle of peers out to the public, because again, we can create that reality, and then we got to live with that reality. So let's live with the reality that, hey, we can work through this. Let's keep that positive. It's part of being mentally strong. And one more thing I wanted to share real quickly. I know we've gone a little longer than what we normally do, but this old guy has learned this, okay? And this is, towards the end of 2022, where things may not be hopping like they were. But here's what I've learned over the years that's, I think, really, really important to remember. While things may be a little slower, do the things that you don't or won't have time to do when they're busier, okay?
So true.
And you have to be confident that you're going to, get to that point where it's okay. There's a pause maybe in your business, maybe, but get those designations as an example. Maybe luxury designation, maybe senior designation, maybe a good time to get knowledgeable in short sales or REO properties, or maybe you want to get your broker's license, but redeem the time. If you're not busy carrying somebody around or going to a listing appointment or doing something else with the business, do the things that you're not going to have to not have time to do later, because remember this, prosperity follows value. You can control your value by your dedication, by your commitment to becoming excellent at the trade and becoming a professional and not just an agent, right?
Amen.
Oh, so true. Love that. Love that. This was great.
Good stuff.
I think next year is going to be a good year as we finish the year strong. Are you working on your one word? I can't wait for that podcast that we're going to do about our one word. Was yours data? I think it was.
Yeah.
You're doing all your numbers. Yeah. It was a good one.
And it made a difference.
I love that.
Mine was unstoppable. And I remain that. We're unstoppable.
That's good. I actually forgot mine. I'm just going to be honest. That happens sometimes.
You brought it up.
I know. I started that, and then I was like, well, crap, they're going to ask me what it is. But hey, it's all good. But we're blessed. We're here, and we're healthy. There's so many things to be thankful for.
Yes.
And we've had a really challenging year from all different aspects, I think. But we're going to finish strong and create that momentum for a really amazing 2023. Here we come. Here we come.
Here we come.
Hey, thanks again for joining us. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.